Hi, I'm Susanna Rodriguez, and this is the TalkativeChic podcast. Today's guest was Michael Pieper. He was my acting teacher at Second City. Not only was he an acting teacher, but he also became one of my good friends. We talk acting, we talk life when he grew up on a farm, and all of his accomplishments and his new school, The Path. I really hope you enjoy this, especially if you're an inspiring actor. If you're a person out there that wants to be an actor and wants to go acting school, join The Path. It's in Chicago, but it's also online. And so you can hear all about it in this episode, and I really hope that you pick him as a teacher. And I'm really blessed to call him my friend. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, like, and comment. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Today, my guest is none other than Michael Pieper. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here. This is really special for me because I went through your acting program at Second City. That's how I met you. But I also consider you a dear friend. So I'm so glad you're here and so glad that we're talking acting.
Yeah. You know, I love to talk about it.
I love to talk about it too. I really miss it, I will say. I kind of veered off to stand-up comedy, but I do miss it, and I've been thinking about like somehow, some way getting my foot in the door again in there. But so I met you through Second City in 2017. I don't know, my father had passed away in 2014, and I kind of went through a little slump for a couple of years where nothing was happy, right? And it's kind of weird because you kind of want to laugh at things and everything, but there's like a dark cloud still. And it wasn't until I kind of shook that off around 2015, 2016, I started feeling a little bit more myself, because you know me as kind of like happy, jolly, all of that. And then there was it's so weird. I was watching Windy City Live, which is a Chicago-based show. It's not on air anymore. It's on the weekends only. And they wanted a co-host, like they were doing a contest for a co-host, and they wanted you to send in a video. And I kind of made it like a skit. So I took little factors from the show, little things that they had talked about. I did like a cooking segment, and then I did like a baseball sports segment. And it was a crazy, crazy video. Nonetheless, I was not a finalist, which I was very shocked to find out, because they had 10 finalists. And I was like, how did I not make it? But I think they were just looking for somebody to come on camera and say, hey, I want to do this like this. This would have worked. I want to be a co-host, blah, blah. So, but in making that video, I had so much fun just creating, writing it all out. It was kind of like a little script. And I had a blast with it. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, why am I not involved in something like this? Like, why do I have a day? I mean, I still have a day job, but why do I have a day job that's just not as fulfilling? And why am I not doing this? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I got to find a place. And it's funny, I was looking online and I almost got scammed. I don't think I've ever told you this story, but there was a place, I can't remember exactly what it's called now, but there was a place, and it was in Oak Brook. And it was kind of like a modeling / acting type deal. But really, they wanted you to pay for pictures and all of this stuff, And so I had Googled it. I had made an appointment. My friend was going to go with me. It was going to be a Wednesday night. And then my friend just happened to say, Susanna, have you research this company? Like, where did you hear about this? So, of course, I started Googling. It's so weird because I Google everything, like what's the best paper towel? But I don't know why I didn't review it. And then I started looking and it was like scam, scam, scam. They take your money, da, da, da. They had me walk through this fake runway. And I was like, oh my goodness. So, I canceled that. And then I was talking to a different friend and she said, why don't you try, like, look at Second City and see what they have. And so I always knew, of course, Saturday Night Live, Second City, all the people that went through that school. And so I just thought, well, I want to do everything. I don't want to just do comedy, blah, 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 which is funny because I'm doing it now. But but I looked and then there was an acting program. I'm like, well, this is interesting. There's an acting program. And so I went ahead and signed up to Acting One. And it was funny because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I also, I wasn't 18 at the time. I won't say how old I am. It's a secret. No. But I wasn't 18. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go in there. And there's going to be like all these little 18-year-olds and me, and I'm going to look like an oddball. I don't know why. Because that's never really my thought in life. I always kind of just tackle life. But those were just thoughts I had. So I go, and not only was there like, nobody was 18, but there was like older people. That's where I met Barbara. Like there was like a principal of a school. I was like, what is happening? Like it was like such a diverse group of people. And so you did not teach Acting One at the time. It was my son,
Derek.
Derek, thank you. I think I'm just nervous on the camera or something. Derek. And so then I went through Acting One and I loved it. And then I was like, well, what's next? And so I heard there was like a whole program. And then I met you in Acting Two. And then I found out that you developed the whole program, which is amazing to me because developing a curriculum is like no joke. That is a tough thing to do. Because I taught at a Baptist school and I had to teach Spanish and there was no real curriculum and I had to kind of develop it. And, it was kind of so weird to know where to go. Do I teach them conjugation? Do I just talk? Like, what do we do? Right. So, yeah, and it's something that to know something, but then to teach it is a whole nother skill set. And you have to be a good teacher. And I will say you were an amazing, like awesome, one of the best teachers I've ever had. And now you're branching out and doing your own acting school, which I'm so excited for you because Chicago needs this, America needs this, everybody that's in acting needs this. And I'm so excited. And I will say, we've had our chats and I've talked to you about different, I did your program and I did another, just kind of variety. And I will say that, yeah, hands down, like you were the best. And I felt so cared for in your class. And I felt like you believed in us, which is so huge to have as a teacher as well. All that being said, enough about my talking. But how did you get into acting? Like, when did it start?
Well, I've done it since I was a kid. I was lucky. I went to a country school because I was raised in the western Nebraska on a farm, and I was lucky that my teachers were open to when instead of doing reports, I'd write a play about it and we'd perform it. And of course, I got into it in high school and loved it. I did sports as well, but it was just something I was really good at, and I think it was an escape for me in a lot of ways. I wanted to not be on the farm. I wanted to, and I think growing up, I escaped a lot in my imagination and was acting all the time. And I went to college. Of course, my folks at first did not want me in theater, did not want me doing it. And I ended up getting my degree, my undergrad degree, and then went on to San Diego and got my master's in directing because I fell in love with that my senior year undergrad. I had a great directing mentor, and I just loved working with actors that way. And it wasn't until graduate school that I started teaching. And was lucky enough after I graduated with my MFA in directing, they asked me back to teach. And so I was teaching under a couple of the professors that had taught me. Mm-hmm. And when I was about 27, I was kind of searching for myself. I was trying to, what did I believe in? What was my method? What was, and one of my mentors back there told me is like, eventually you have to find your own style of teaching and your own method. And it's kind of, I believe, for every actor, you want to study and get a method behind you, but eventually it becomes your own. And as I was kind of searching for myself, I came across shamanism.
Okay, so at 27, where did you live?
I was in San Diego at the time.
Okay, so, and then the first college you went to was where again?
It was in Nebraska. It was it was Kearney State, and now it's the University of Nebraska at Kearney.
Okay, so did you still live in home and go to university?
No, it was about 5 hours away from my home.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
that, I kind of want to go back to that. When you went to that, like, was it like, so, I mean, obviously it was so different from the farm, but it was still pretty, not city, right? Like pretty rural.
Yeah,
and
it was
like,
a small college town. It was,
okay.
It was a blast. But no, 2 weeks after I graduated from high school, I moved there to go to summer school.
Okay.
I was like, I want to get going and get,
Yeah.
I told my mom when I was 5 years old that I wanted to move to California when I grew up.
Oh, okay.
And I always kind of wanted to leave, and to move on.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Can we pause just for a second, just for the dog? All right, we're back. My dog was barking, so we had to take a little bit of a pause. I set her straight. Hopefully she stops. Okay, so yeah, college was a blast because you were away from home. It was the first time you were away from the farm. And when you say farm, like animals and early mornings.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
I was driving tractor and truck when I was 10 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so then so Nebraska, you did college there, and then you went to San Diego, right? And so now you're 27, trying to find yourself in San Diego.
Right. And I'm teaching and teaching other people's methods.
Oh.
Kind of stuff.
Really?
And
okay.
Yeah, I was the professors that were there, I was teaching what their curriculum that they had put together.
Oh.
And I end up starting a children's program that was for third grade through adult in Solana Beach at the North Coast Repertory Theater in San Diego. And that's when I had just stumbled upon shamanism, and that's what kind of started me on this journey of developing this method of the way of looking at acting through those kinds of perspectives, that kind of thing.
So did somebody teach you shamanism? Or
No, it was something I researched and read, and it just clicked with me. And the way that shaman look at the human condition was a great way, I thought, for actors to look at the human condition. And plus I connected with, shaman are healers. And I really believe at our heart, us actors and artists are healers. We're holding the mirror up to society. We're getting them to look at themselves and say, get angry at themselves, laugh at themselves, whatever it might be. And through that, we heal and hopefully promote some kind of positive change in the world. And that's what's always driven me behind this method. And I think it's beautiful in the fact that it gets people to understand themselves more and other people.
Okay.
I think that's the big benefit of it.
Okay, so you're teaching 27. So how did that come about to develop your own method? And like, when did that? Like, did you sit down and write the method, or did you?
Well, no, it was funny because
through your own acting. Probably?
Yeah, it was, and I just started with these kids and adults that I was working with there. I tried different exercises, and then as I started to present of how to look at the human condition, it just started to evolve. And I realized that a lot of the tools that I'd learned through different methods applied to those different sections of the human condition and how, and to me it was a great way for people to just go, oh yeah, now I get it. Now I get how the human condition works and how we're all a system and it influence each other and that kind of thing. And plus it was something that makes you learn about yourself, and I think that's important because that's what we're trying to get the audience to look at themselves.
Wow.
So it was a lot of trial and error of different exercises and that kind of stuff. And of course, I'd always talk to it with my friends, and they're like, "Yeah, you should do it. You should really develop it. Go for it," kind of thing. And it wasn't until I really came to Second City then I kind of really implemented it, and really put it to a curriculum there.
Yeah.
And then the next step was like, oh, I need to write a book about it.
Yeah.
It took me many years of getting the confidence to do that as well.
Okay.
And then I had written over the years parts of it, and then finally I got to a point in, I think it was about 2015 or 16, 15 I think it was, and I said, okay, I have to get this done. And so I just did a regiment that every morning I got up and I at least wrote a page to sometimes it would be 5 pages. And I started, I think, in July, and I was done with it in August, or no, October. I'm sorry, October.
Oh, okay. July, September, October. Wow.
Yeah. And I just did that regiment, and it was kind of me finding my way of the way that I write.
Okay.
I'd have to write it in my head, and then I'd write it on a piece of paper, and then I'd dictate it to my iPad.
Oh,
that
wow.
would write it out in Word.
Okay.
And then I'd send it to my PC and type it and edit it there. So it was kind of this process. And once I found that, it just started flowing. It just started
Interesting.
going. Yeah.
That is so cool. So you published it on your own?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's really super cool. Yeah. So then, okay, so 20. Wow. So 20. So when did you you finished it in 2016?
Yeah.
And I missed a month, by the way. I skipped August. Yeah. So it's 4 months. I'm just really doing great today. I'm forgetting people's names. I can't count the months anymore. And we'll show it, but I'll also put it up, but we'll kind of put it on the camera. But that's an actor's guide to Walking the Razor's Edge. And I've read the book several times, of course, being in your class. And it's interesting because I've found that as I'm reading it, like each time there's a different, it's kind of like watching a movie where you're like, oh, I didn't remember that scene, or she said that, or that meant this, right. And I remember there was an emotional scene that I did for your lab, and I did exactly the exercise that it was an abuse victim, and she was remembering the abuse, and I did exactly what you said in that book, and it was golden. It was just really helpful. So yeah, it's an amazing book. Okay, so now you've got the Path, right? Yeah. Acting studio.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. Okay. So let's talk about your studio that you just started, the Path. Or when did you start this? It's not just you've had it for a while.
It's been about a year, and I started in it's been about over a year now. Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That is awesome. I'm so excited for you because it's just such a great thing to be your own person and doing your own thing.
Well, it seemed like a natural evolution to my career.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that in the back of my mind I've always wanted to do. And, the thing that I was thinking on the way here that kind of catapulted it was the pandemic. I mean, as hard as it's been on everybody, it forced everything online, and it made me realize that I can reach people all over the world.
Wow.
And it was really cool how my curriculum worked really well online as well. I mean, I had to adapt it and I had to change, but I actually discovered more, and it evolved my method even more. And so I figured, this is the time. This is the time for me to take that step. Because I've always kind of wanted a place that I could also just build an ensemble of actors as well. I mean, I have lots of plans for this place, and the big thing right now is just getting enrollment in.
Yeah.
Getting the word out, getting people to know about it.
Right, right. Okay, so tell me about the stages of the Path. If I'm a beginning actor, I mean, actually, I have never acted before.
Right.
So what classes do I take, or how do I start out?
Well, I call that the foundation path.
Okay.
And that has 3 levels to it. Each one kind of goes around each side of the human condition. And so it's very much first you're going in, and it's like if you get cast, what do I do? Where do I start? And so we get into just the basics of script analysis and how to develop a character, and the foundation of the intellectual side. And the level 2 is more into the emotional and physical side of it, because those are tied to each other. And then the third starts you into learning more about styles and that kind of thing. But it gives you it's a good foundation of tools that you can apply to any style that you're doing.
Sorry.
That's all right. And sets you up so that, because I always say there's 3 main styles of acting. There's live on stage acting, there's on camera acting, and there's online acting now. And
interesting.
There's kind of 3 different styles to it, but you're still figuring out the character the same way. And so you need this foundation to set you up. so that, and the cool thing about this method, it gives you almost kind of a step-by-step way to develop the character and to take on the life of the character. And I think that's a lot of times with other methods and stuff, it's a little convoluted. What tool do I use now? That kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason that I developed this tool, this method, is that I wanted to develop one that was very well-rounded. That some tend to be really intellectual, some all emotional, that kind of stuff. And to me, this kind of encompasses all of those sides of the human condition, so that you're developing a well-rounded character. And gives you that foundation to then explore more, to give you the confidence. Because so much about acting is just being confident with your choices. And when you have those tools and you have the method behind you, you can bring much more of that confidence to it. And all these tools are designed to tap into your instincts, intuitions, to come from an authentic place as an artist, as an actor. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think so too. Just in my journey of acting, and you meet other people that are in the same industry. And I remember talking to this girl, and she was taking classes somewhere else. I won't say where. And just the stuff that she was getting taught, like, kind of doing stuff with fruit and whatever. And I mean, not that, and it wasn't like your sensory exercise or anything like that. It was just different. And I agree with you 100%, obviously, because I have you here, but with acting. But yeah, as an actor, like as a beginning actor, you need structure. Right. It's like anything. I mean, it's kind of like learning the alphabet, like, and writing and words. And it's like that structure is definitely there in your program, where you have steps to follow. You might put them sometimes in a different direction. Because I remember when I was in your class, I was just like, oh my goodness, like memorization was like, how am I going to memorize all this? How am I going to memorize all of this? And that was like really the least of my worries. Yeah. There was way more involved in acting than just the lines on a piece of paper, and I think that the structure of everything that you teach kind of leads you to just memorize the lines as you're doing everything, your beat work and all of that you're structuring this character with. And I just, and I also found your method, and I mean, I guess probably because it's tied to shamanism, but I felt like it was very therapeutic. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and I think that it was one of the most self-aware moments I've ever. And I've always thought I was self-aware, but it really makes you look internally inside yourself for everything. And it's just, I felt like it was a really therapeutic thing too, along with just learning to be a great actor. It was amazing.
That's the great gift that acting gives to you when you study it and when you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, I thought it was very healing.
Yeah.
And I just remember little things that you said, even in beginnings of class or middles of class. And I remember one time I was griping about a certain situation, and you said, it's just noise. And I was like, wow, it is just noise, isn't it? And at the moment, it's like the biggest thing in your life. And you're like, this person upset me, or this happened. And it's like chaotic, and your emotions are all over the place. And if you really boil down to it, it's just noise. It's just like one day in your life, one little second, like it's minute compared to all the other decisions that you're making, or all the other things that you can be focusing on, right? Okay, so once you go through those 3 levels.
And then I have, for advanced actors, going into auditioning. And it's a class that teaches you how to audition live, self-taping, going through different exercises as far as different types of auditions you go into, that kind of thing. I mean, with the pandemic, it's totally changed how people audition now. Everything's self-taping. There's very few in-person auditions anymore. And so as an actor, you have to adapt. And as a teacher, I've had to adapt as far as just, how do I help my students to get the job?
Yeah.
And it's all about, doing that self-tape. And so now as an actor, not only do you need to be good at acting, you need to know lighting, editing, how to film yourself, all of that kind of stuff. A director, all of those kinds of things, so that you present yourself in a positive way. Now, a good thing about it is now you're in more control of what they see. Before when you go in live, if you had a bad rehearsal,
Right.
That's what you got.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
They tape you but now you can do 40 takes and take the best one and send it to them.
Oh my goodness.
So
yeah.
it's a different ball game in that way of just how do I brand myself and sell myself as an
Right.
actor.
Right. Yeah.
And then the second class after that is creating your own reel. And so it's putting together pieces that you can send to casting agents, to send to directors, that kind of thing. And that's even changed over the last year as well. They don't want to see a full monologue. They want a minute and a half of 20 seconds of each monologue. So you're, taking the best moments out of your monologue and doing a minute and a half of it. Of 3 different monologues or a commercial or whatever you might want.
Yeah.
So even right now with my students, we're picking monologues. We're like, okay, let's look at ones that can take 20 seconds. That'll be a great 20 seconds that you can use.
Yeah.
Work up the whole monologue so you can use them in the future for
Right.
a live audition. But note that it's a little different in the way that you choose to pick your monologues.
That's interesting too, because I feel with auditions, wow. Just going back in my brain of auditions, but yeah, it's like you can be an amazing actor and just not be able or freak out in an audition for some reason. It's like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can be awesome, and then that moment almost becomes bigger than you, in a way. And then I think with the self-taping, hold on one second. Can we stop for a second? Talk. All right, we're back from another interruption. If it's not my dog, it's my phone. It's all things that belong to me. So at any rate, back to auditions. Boy, is that something that can be a crutch. I'm so glad that you have a class on that, because not a lot of people focus on just that, the audition process, right? You kind of get maybe like a 5-minute spiel within a big, huge class, but it's never really focused on what can happen in audition. I know for me, I think there's a lot of pivoting in auditions, right? And I felt for me that was hard. Like I like structure, and that's why I loved your class. I didn't really, improv was not my thing, because I liked the structure of a script. I liked knowing what was going to happen. I liked planning ahead, all of those things. And I remember thinking in my brain, okay, when I go in, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then when you go in, like I remember one time it was a song and it was also the monologue. Well, when I got in, it was late in the day and they're like, we only have time for one. And then it's like, like, which one do I do? And then I tend to in those moments, I'm not a quick on my feet person. And I start to say things that I don't really mean, or and I remember this one man even got upset at me because I was like, he's like, we only have time for one. And I was like, oh, and then he's like, and then I go, sometimes I feel like I'm a better actor than I am a singer. And I was going through this whole thing. And then he's like, just pick one. And I was like, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? And he goes, well, it does matter. And I was like, well, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean that your audition was not important. Oh, and I remember coming out of that. I came out of that like I entered this podcast. I didn't know where my car was. I was like, where did I park? Like, I'm a loser. Yeah. So yeah, just the audition process is, I love that because so if you are an established actor and you have a big audition coming up, that's something that you can do, right? Is like coming and getting like a tutorial for that audition.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I do private lessons.
Oh, good.
I offer private lessons. I have 2 people I'm working with right now.
That
I'm doing a lot with. That didn't get a lot of the tools that I teach in their degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I love that. And so they're learning the whole method just through private lessons. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is awesome. And how long are the private lessons?
They're an hour.
Okay.
They're an hour.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is awesome. One-on-one, training. Is I think that's so important. I know that if I was an actor and I had some big, huge role I was trying to get,
Oh yeah.
it would be so great to just kind of go through the monologue and get like last minute tips or pointers or whatever before going in there. So that's amazing. And then you have like the styles class. Is that the third
Yeah.
level of
Well,
that, or is that something?
it's like a different path. I call it
Okay.
there's the foundation path and the audition path, which I just talked about, and then this
Okay.
is the styles path.
Okay.
And it's a class that I offer every 7 weeks, and the subject is either a playwright or a time period.
Okay.
Right now I'm doing one on Pulitzer Prize winning plays.
Oh,
And we're going through
wow.
the whole list from 1917 and looking at all the plays and looking at doing monologues and scenes from them, but we're also talking about why was this play important for that time period? Why did this committee say, hey, you should go see this play or you should read this play? And it's really interesting to see kind of what's going on in the world at that time and what play they're picking and how that relates to what's
Yeah.
going on. I mean, one we looked at was a piece about marriage and women having more of a say in the world, and it was right when women were getting the right to vote.
Huh.
And so those different kind of topics and what people are going through, I think, always reflect that time period and is reflected in the plays that are popular or they feel is important. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That
yeah,
is really interesting.
and I've done it on another one on 10 landmark plays by women that you
Okay.
should know. That's the first one we looked at was from 457 AD or whatever
Oh,
by a
wow.
nun that wrote it back then. In fact, I actually want to do a production of it.
Oh,
It was a
gosh.
comedy. It was making fun of men, and it was kind of it was for Christianity and these three women that make a fool out of these men.
That's hilarious from
Yeah.
a nun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wonder if she got backlash during that time period.
I don't think they even knew they were being made fun of.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's how clever she was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so it's a really cool class, and it's one that's I made for advanced actors to keep their muscles going.
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
one student that's taken every one of them since I started.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you are getting an education like nobody else of
You know
studying
what?
all
That's
these
so
playwrights
true.
and all these people. And I've had classes like this in the past on my own that I offered on my own, and a lot of the actors that went through them said, God, I didn't realize, but now in my work in LA or whatever, I look at scripts so differently because I know all these different playwrights and I understand the different styles. And I used to think when I studied theater history, like, oh, this is boring, it's dates. And then I had a professor that was really wonderful, and like, it was all about this time period is a reaction to the last time period, and this movement in the theater is a reaction to this. And so it made it really interesting. And so then you start to see like, oh, Alienation from Brecht is done in movies all the time now. And you understand where our roots come from and where we're at. And, that's why I say even what we're going through as artists today is going to be interesting to look back on how that changed the art and how it evolved because of that. So I think it's a class that not many people offer unless you go to college. You know what I'm saying? There's not many studios out there that offer a styles of really focusing on the playwrights, the plays, and how they're, reflecting that time period that they come from. I think it's important to look at where we come from. There's some plays you look back and go, oh my God, that was about that, and today that would never fly because it was so
Yeah.
racist or it was so against women or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
you have to look at and understand in that time period. That's what and a lot of times that was a huge step for that time period in the growth of civil rights or rights for women or whatever
Yeah.
topic you're looking at. But in looking at today, you're like, oh my God, that would never fly today. The
Yeah.
stereotypes that they're putting on or whatever it might be. So I think and I think you have a better understanding of where we come from then and each other now, and being more patient and understanding in that way. So I think it's a very cool class, and I love it. I learn so much myself.
Oh my
Makes me go
gosh,
back
yeah.
and learn about things and really understand where we come from and using more of those kinds of things in your acting today, I think is important.
Yeah, that is important because I think, yeah, definitely the outside or what's revolving reflects on television, reflects on movies, reflects. I mean, I think of shows in the past, and everybody was on a big Friends kick, right? Which isn't really more comedic, but watching that show back, even comments and things that people were making fun of, like Monica and the whole fat thing, and then Joey, sleeping around was hilarious, just taking advantage of women, I mean, in a way where or sexualizing them, or however we want to call it. And but that was funny at the time, and everybody was okay with that. And now it's just a different type of, era or whatever that we're in, where things are different.
You have to adapt, and I always say back in the late '90s and the early 2000s, it was all about pushing people to edge, shocking them. Well, because of the pandemic and everything that we've gone through, we've been shocked, we've been shook up, and I think art right now is a little more nurturing. People want it to be more of a nurturing kind of art, and so it's interesting how it keeps evolving, and how you as an artist, as an actor, has to keep adapting and going with it. To me, it's exciting. A lot of people get frustrated and quit. I don't want to do this anymore if this is what it's going to be. And I'm like, no, be a part of the change, be a part of the evolution of it. Because I believe it's so important as an actor and as an artist to keep evolving, keep growing, not be stagnant in what you do. The moment you think like, I got this, well, then that's when you start to go on the downslide. So that's the thing to me that's been so wonderful to have my career around acting, is that it's made me continue to grow as a person, to learn as a person, as an artist, and that's something that I think is important for my students. I always said, you heard this in class at the end of level 4, that not only do I want you to grow as actors, but I want you to grow as people. I want you to evolve as a person as well, and sometimes that's more important than the acting, I think. Is that evolution and to understanding yourself and the human condition. And another exciting thing that I've just developed and I'm sending out is I'm developed a bunch of workshops, 6 different workshops that I'm going to be promoting to different ensembles and groups that contain different parts of the method. One's a kind of a general one about the whole what I'm calling the razor's edge method, my method of acting, and another one that's just on beat work, another workshop that's on emotional authenticity, another one that's on physical acting, and then one on self-taping and auditioning. And so I'm now starting to promote that and send that to schools and different theater groups, saying, hey, if you want to keep, a lot of now businesses are like wanting to keep their employees, educated and evolving. And you look at it, and there's nothing for theaters. There's nothing for theater ensembles to do that as a group. And so I thought this would be a great way for people to start to get a taste of what my method is about, and to also help them as an ensemble to come together, as a group come together as well.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. And I think it's so important too. I feel like when I went through your acting program, you really, I don't know if it was underlying or not, but I felt like there was an objective of getting us connected in different ways through exercises, right? And it's so amazing how quick you can learn people or get to know them in a couple of hours of class by doing exercises and by doing group things. And we were kind of encouraged to, like, we would hang out sometimes afterwards too, and it just is so much better for the scene when you feel like you can trust that person across a table from you, or you feel like you know them, and stuff. So that is really cool. I think that's a great idea. I've never heard of anything like that. Like you said, it's something pretty novel.
Well, so many people in the business make it about competition, and it's not. It's about supporting each other.
Yes.
You're only as good as that other actor you're with and who you're playing off of. And so, and I always believe acting should be done with joy. Even if you're playing the hardest scene where you have to be emotional, there should be joy in the work that you do. And when you to have that joy, you have to have a connection with each other. And I think that's so important. I mean, I look over, I've directed now over 98 shows in my career, and I look back at the ones that really were wonderful. And it was the ensemble. It was the group of people that supported each other and were there for each other. That made it very special. And I always call it the kind of heroin that gets you addicted to it, and you keep like trying to chase the dragon, to get that feeling again, of having that support. And what it does is, I believe, it frees you more as an artist. You do your best work when you're doing it with joy.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
That's really important.
I think so too. I think comfortability. You always made us feel at home and welcome and accepted. And it's crazy because all of us were so different from each other, and you were a very accepting person. And it's probably not the easiest to do. I remember when I was a teacher, and of course it's different because you've got like teenagers and it's just 30 in a class and you're teaching one subject and it's not that connected. But I remember, the kids that were outgoing and like full of, burst of energy, I would easily navigate to because that was my personality and I understood them. And then that little quiet kid in the corner, I really had to make myself go and like reach out and be like, let's talk to this kid and get him out of his shell, because it was just so easy to navigate to the polarizing personalities. And I think as a teacher, you did that. Like, all of us are so different from each other. I'm sure, it looked like you liked all of us.
Oh, yeah. There's some students that promote that challenge you.
Yeah.
I always look at it, that makes me a better teacher. How do I get through to this student? How do I, how can I, some you have to prod, some you have to cuddle, and that kind of thing. And a lot of it's, I think studying the human condition, it makes you much more understanding. You tend not to judge people right away because of it. And so you go, okay, what makes this person tick? And how do I help them to find their voice as an artist, as an actor, from studying this method, but still they have to find how it works for them and how, and to believe in themselves. A lot of about acting is just believing in yourself, and that's, if anything, these tools apply to so many other things in your life. You're probably using them in your stand-up work, that kind of thing, and that's the thing that excites me, is that you, after going through the program, are finding your voice as an artist, and what you're doing, and that's important. That's the cool thing about studying acting. You don't have to just be an actor to study it or want to have a profession as an actor. It's going to help you in so many other facets of your life, and that's, to me, that's really cool.
Oh yeah,
that's what feeds my soul as an artist.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I feel like there's so much to be learned about yourself, about others. And I love that you said you learn not to judge people, because one of the things is like, you can't judge your character that you're playing, right? And you could be playing a prostitute, but you cannot judge her.
No.
And it's a beautiful thing, because I kind of grew up in a strict environment of a Baptist church and things, and it's easy to point the finger or look at faults, or I'm doing this and that person's doing that, and whatever. But having and I kind of, once I was older, I kind of steered away from that, and I think acting definitely gives you that you just can't judge everybody and what they're doing, and people have so many layers to them. They're not just that one person, and then what circumstances in their life played out to get them there. And that you could have been in those circumstances and ended up there as well. Like, I think that there's a lot of that internalization, and you're right. I've always loved the stage. And I always say, like, if I was kind of like Britney Spears or whatever, I would totally be a rock star, because I love music. I just love everything that deals with entertainment, and I loved acting, and I love stand-up comedy. So yeah, it would be awesome to do all of those things. But yeah, definitely, it was definitely the catapult that got me to where I am now. And like I said, I do miss it. And in talking to you, every time we talk, I'm like, man, I want to be in a play. And I've been in several ones that you've produced
Yeah.
and done, and it's great to get the feedback and I don't know how, like, just going from, I don't know, the little things that I could put into a character, and then the feedback that you give me and makes it bigger and bigger. Like, it's just great. It's just a great place to be. There's something I was going to ask you. Oh, so let's talk about the people that have been in your program, have gone through your program, and what they're doing now. And I know, like, Ginger Z was in your program from Good Morning America.
Yeah. She was working for, I believe, NBC at the time.
Okay.
Here in Chicago, and she was doing the morning show, and so I had a afternoon class, and so she always, because she was like up at 3:00 in the morning, kind of thing. She'd always take class in the afternoon and went through the program.
Oh my goodness! So she went through the program while she was on NBC.
Yeah.
No way!
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So were people like gawking, like, oh? Or
No,
did they really kind of know her?
She
Like,
is the sweetest person.
She is the sweetest,
and just very real and just genuine, and just was part of the class.
Wow. Yeah, she seems very genuine. I watch Good Morning America every day, and I really like her on there. She seems just really sweet.
Yeah.
So one of my really good friends, Chandler Holloway, went through your program, and he got booked in a movie in Utah called Mr. Earth that got submitted to the Utah Film Festival, and he was submitted as Best Actor, and he won.
That's so awesome. I'm so proud of him.
I know, that is amazing. Just a really talented guy, and then with your tools, I mean, he's just, I just remember I met him at during your program too, and he came from Utah just to come out here and do it. So it's pretty interesting and special for sure. Who else? Because I know I'm trying to think of other people. I know that like Taylor's been a couple of plays, or he's coming at one up too. And then
years and years ago, I taught Jamie Foxx.
Really?
Yeah, I taught him in San Diego. He was 19. Before he changed his name to Jamie Foxx.
Oh wow!
Yeah. He was, I believe, a musical theater major at the university I taught at. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
And another one is John Barrowman. He was on Torchwood, played Captain Jack.
Okay.
And the Doctor, Who series.
Okay.
All that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I had him years ago. But I have, students that are working in all levels of the profession.
Yeah.
And the ones that actually make me the most proud are the ones that are doing their art. Even if they're not making a lot of money by it, they're doing their thing, and they're sharing their voice. And to me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so, that is awesome.
I mean, I have a good friend that went through the program. He taught for me just like you did. And he lives in New Orleans, and he's done, quite a few things down there with NCIS New Orleans and that kind of thing as well. And has been, I think he teaches acting down there, and he's using this method teaching down there as well.
Wow.
Teaches high school kids,
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. Yeah. I think I met him. Did he come up?
Yeah.
He came up,
I think he came into the class that you were in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Played.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, that is super awesome.
And the guy that's on the front of my book, Danny, I just talked to, and he just was flown into Chicago and did an episode of Chicago PD.
Oh, cool.
And he's been on Portlandia and different things like that. He was an actor that I worked with for about 9 years here in Chicago. Did a lot of shows with him, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in my lab ended up on Chicago Fire. I know Kurt, right? He was in... I think it was Chicago Fire, and then Vinithra too. She was in something. I want to say it was Fire also, if I remember. Like, I'm trying to think of her like outfit and everything that she had on. So yeah, I think they've all kind of streamed through the Chicago shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Shameless, or any of those that film in Chicago. Yeah. Chicago is such a good film town too. So.
And that's part of the thing that I help with my students is I've started to do more exercises around auditioning for procedural TV, because I know that they could get a spot on those shows. So how do I audition for it? That kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had a lot over the years.
Yeah, that is super cool. It's awesome, I'm sure, to see your students flourish and go into everything,
Oh yeah, I just had Jenny Paul, who went through the program, was on the impeachment about the Bill Clinton.
Oh really? Oh,
Yeah, the
wow.
Monica show. Yeah.
Yeah, the Monica Lewinsky. I know, I'm trying to remember what it was
Yeah.
called too.
But anyway, but yeah,
Oh,
she played a supporting role she was in the same cubicle as the what's her name, the Tripp character,
oh, okay.
Linda Tripp.
Linda Tripp. Yeah, I
Yeah,
almost
she
said
was
Laura,
her.
of
Yeah,
course.
she was in the same cubicle, and it was very funny.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was one of those
wow.
wild things where as I started to watch it, and all of a sudden I'm like, Jenny?
Yeah.
That's Jenny. Oh my God. And then I got so excited, and she did such a
Oh,
great
that is
job.
so great. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. One of the things we did not talk about is that I did teach
Yeah, yeah.
acting through Michael's program. It was
Yeah.
so amazing to be involved in that. And it was so amazing to be picked, and I was so shocked. And we were trying to do a whole Spanish thing
Yeah.
too.
But then
Hopefully.
the pandemic hit.
Then the pandemic hit. Then we took everything home. It was weird to do it online, but we still did. We still did it online. But yeah, it was a great experience too to teach it. And I remember you telling me when you teach it, you just become a better actor. And yeah, I felt like all the methods were flying off the page. If that makes any sense.
Yep.
I was like, oh yeah, I remember doing this in class, and yeah. It was really, really a great experience. Okay, so if people want to take classes with you, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, which is thepathattingstudio.com, and all the information's on there. Or they can email me at thepathattingstudio@gmail.com.
Okay.
And that's probably the best ways to learn about it. I mean, I'm now doing YouTube videos giving little tips. I mean, you were talking about auditioning.
Yeah.
I just did one about how to deal with anxiety and nervousness around auditioning. So, because that's a lot how you sabotage yourself.
Yes.
That kind of thing. I'm right now in the process of developing one of where your point of focus should be when you're auditioning and when you're self-taping. What's those points that you should look at, that kind of thing. So I'm giving little tips so people start to learn a little bit about the method without giving it all away online.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I need to watch the anxiety, nervousness like 20 times. Because even in comedy, I find myself, it's weird. I have to get over this hump because I produce shows, and so when I produce it, for some reason, I'm not as nervous. I think it's because there must be something mentally that says, well, this is my show. If I mess it up, it's my show, right? Maybe. And then, but when I go do a set in Chicago, it's like this. I mean, I remember one of the last sets, like my hand was shaking even. And I was like, why? Why is it shaking?
Well, it's probably also, too, that you're more focused on other things if you're running it, where and it helps you to take the focus off yourself.
That is so true.
And
That
so
is
when you
so
don't have all those
true.
things to worry about, then it's also just like, oh my God, then you're more focused on yourself.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's why, going back to acting,
Interesting.
focusing on your objective and the other person gets you less aware of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's probably that.
That's
Could be
it.
that.
Probably is that. Yeah, I find and I'll go through my set kind of like a script.
Right.
I do the same thing over and over and over again, and I go through my set, and then the day of, you're right. I'm concentrating so many questions, greeting people, whatever, and then it's almost like, okay, it's showtime. It's time to go.
Right.
And for some reason, I feel like I've got this. Like I've practiced it. Like it's there. You're okay, kind of thing. And then, I guess I need to take something, crochet something, juggle, I don't know, do
Don't
something.
take up smoking.
I'll be right back. 10 smoke breaks. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm having an aha moment right now, like Oprah. That is so true. It's like your mind is focused on all this other stuff.
And that's why, having a method to your acting helps you with that. If you don't have a method, you're just playing generalizations, you're floundering, and your performances are inconsistent. And if you're taking direction, a lot of the tools help you when the director says, hey, I see you blue. Well, how do I play blue? And you go to your tools, But otherwise, you're aware of yourself. Yeah.
Very interesting. I love that. Wow. I'm trying to think of anything else we did not cover. Anything else you want to add?
Well,
Everything?
I'm starting now that the pandemic hopefully is waning a little bit on different projects. I haven't directed in something in 2 years, and it's driving me crazy. It's the longest I've ever gone in my whole career since I started, in my early 20s, that I've not had a show that I'm working on. I used to do 2 shows a year. Now, at one point in my career, I was doing 5 shows a year. When I worked at the Trapdoor Theater and was directing there, I was doing like 5 shows a year.
Oh, wow.
And it was at a right time of my life, which I could just, dive into it. And really, that's what made me a better director, because I was just doing it. And that's the same thing with acting. You just got to do it and do it and do it. Once you have those skills to feel confident within what you're doing. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
I'm putting some projects together.
Okay, good, awesome.
One I'm writing right now is I don't want to get into it, as a mockumentary kind of thing, and I'm going to do it as a series. So I don't know where it's going to go, whether it's just going to be a web series or whether I try to sell it to one of the channel, whatever.
Oh, nice.
We'll see where it goes. But it's a project that it's helping me as far as just being creative. And I've wanted to make some statements about what's going on in our art right now, and so the way that I'm writing it, it's going to be very funny. But at the same time, hopefully, have some real poignancy to it of what it's saying about what we've gone through and where we're at as artists right now. That kind of thing. So.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Sounds very interesting.
So it's it's forcing me again to evolve as an artist. That kind of thing. Because I've done so much stage work that it's now giving me more confidence to do more of the on-camera work and film work and that kind of stuff, and teaching myself editing and all those kinds of things has been kind of freeing in a way. And that's why I say this method, it's about, a lot of people at the beginning feel like I'm tied up, it's confining me, and it shouldn't. It should be something that you use as a springboard to free you, because you have then the confidence with these tools to then go, I can explore more, I can let go more as an actor, because I'm confident in what I'm doing. And I think that's the way to go. That's what you want, to keep evolving, keep growing. And even at how many years I've been at it now, I've been teaching acting now 34 years.
Wow.
And I keep learning new things. I keep evolving as a teacher, as an actor, as a director. And that's you can't say that about a lot of professions, where you can keep evolving.
Wow. Just to listen to you, anybody out there that needs acting lessons, 34 years, 34 years. People out there that are wanting to take lessons are probably 34 or younger. Just think of that. Your whole life, he has been doing this. That's amazing.
Well, that's
the experience of that.
I feel so lucky that I've been able to, have that as a profession and to make my living. It's not, to me, it's not work. It's and I've always said I've kind of wanted my classes to be like you're coming in and sitting in my living room and we're hanging out and we're doing our art.
That's exactly
it's
how
focused.
it is.
But at the same time, it's a family. I look at all the actors that I've worked with over the years, and it's family to me. And there's nothing better than working with a bunch of actors and people that support each other. There's such joy in that and such beauty, and I feel lucky that I've been able to, over the years, have those experiences and keep striving for it. And that's what I want with the path. I want, eventually to have its own ensemble, and that kind of thing, and to be doing more productions as well. That to me is exciting. So.
Oh yeah, I love the name of it, The Path. It's so good. It is a path. It's a path for yourself. It's a path for your acting career. It's a path through healing, a path of learning and growing. And when you said about it being freeing, wow, it just took me back to where's my monkey? And Michael wrote a play called Where's My Monkey, and it was about his life, and it was amazing, well written. It was so cool to be a part of it. I played his mom, which is interesting. I don't think I've ever told you this, but when I went over to your house and I saw a picture of your mom, I felt like I looked like her. I was like, oh my goodness, I do kind of look like his mom. But yeah,
It's funny how I got the title because it was the beginning of the pandemic, and we were all going through such hell. And it was later that fall, and I discovered the 606, which was by my house.
Okay.
And so I started to go for walks and bike rides, and it's a path. And I kept thinking, like, what do I call my studio? How would it go with, And so it just seemed natural, the path.
Yeah.
Because my book's called An Actor's Guide to Walking the Razor's Edge. So it's the path to walking the Razor's Edge.
That's perfect.
You know what I'm saying? And so
I love that about you. You're like a kind of like a signs person, like you see things and stuff. And I remember that I did not know that you were writing Where's My Monkey? And I was in your class and I wore a shirt with monkeys on it. It was from Coldplay. And you're like, your shirt has monkeys on it. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I was like, I go, it's Coldplay or whatever. I can't remember what I said. And then it wasn't until later when you had the script and I auditioned, I was like, oh, this is what he was talking about, my monkey shirt. Where's my monkey? I was like, so monkeys. Bizarre.
I do.
Oh,
and I just
great.
think it's funny to say you're a naughty monkey.
Hilarious. It's so funny because before you said that, I was going to say, like, that's so funny. Like, when you're like, I love monkeys, I'm like, I feel like a monkey sometimes. And I love that Coldplay song, and the whole video is monkeys. It's like, I think I sent it to you around that time. I'm like, look at this. Yeah. But yeah, it's been great talking to you. I wish you the best with this program. I've got to take a class. I would love to take a refresher of some sort. I like the playwrights and all of that. And yeah, and I cannot wait for you to have a production.
And the great thing is all the classes I offer are online or in person. So if you're in the Chicago area, you can, come and take from me in person, but even, you can do it online and it can be anywhere. I even have international classes. I offered an international time in Europe time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's 7:00 in Europe and it's noon here. But I offer a class. I haven't been able to reach out enough to get students, but I offer it every time.
That is really cool. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, if you're in Europe or anywhere beyond Hawaii, wherever you're at, you can take a class. That is awesome. So do you do Zoom? Is that what you're using? Yeah. Okay, cool.
I mean, I had students in the last acting lab from Toronto, from New Orleans, from Seattle, from Boston.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I had one guy taught one semester from Brazil.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is so awesome. Yeah. That is so great. Yeah, I think that people just need to hear about it and need to know about it because it's there and it's in a great city in Chicago. And with somebody with 34 years of experience and not only in acting, but doing it, being a teacher. And I mean, that's just amazing. So yeah, very lucky. I'm very lucky to have met you. Very lucky to be under your program. Seriously, you've changed my life and so many good things. Thanks for being my friend.
Thanks,
also,
Susanna.
Thanks for always believing in me too.
Of course.
I appreciate that a lot. I really, really do.
Well, and it's you guys that feed me as well, I always say there's my blood family and then there's my acting family. And you're definitely part of that. So always.
Thank you.
Yeah.